As long as he's in control, it's going to work out for us, because all things work together for good to them that love God and to those that are called according to his purpose. We're going to close out with this song, but I want to sing it for every cancer fighter, for every cancer survivor. If you're watching right now, come on, we're going to sing. Listen, whatever you do, you do for me. My, however, yeah, things turn out, my, as long as you in control, my thing will work for me. My, here's the part I like, y'all. Here's the part I like. Your troubles and your trials only come to make you strong. Help me say your troubles. Your troubles. My. Say, they only come. Only come. To make you strong, For I reckon that your present sufferings, I reckon that your present sufferings can't be compared. Listen to me. That's the Bible. To his glory in you, to his glory in you, to his glory in you. And here's the good news. When you're on the radiation table, when you're in chemo, believe this, I said that all things, it's going to work together. Do I have a witness? Work together. For what? Do it. For the good of them. For the good. For the good of them. the cancer, the colon, the cervix, the pancreatic is going to work together for the good of them. Do y'all believe that? Do y'all believe that? It's going to work together. Do I have a witness? It's going to work together. For the good of them, for the good of them, for the good of them, for the good of them. He's working it out. Do y'all believe that while you're going through it right now? I said he's working it out. The good and the bad, whether you're happy or whether you're sad, he's working out. No matter what the doctor says, no matter what the report says, he's working. You want to square your shoulders, pull your head up, sit your chest out, and know that he's working for your good. Work together for the good of them. They all working together for the good of them. As long as your control. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And long. Oh, listen, keep it right there. Listen, while we get ready to close, some of you didn't get a chance to give earlier. Now be a good chance to give a seed faith gift to show your faith, to believe that in spite of Cancer Month and cancer survivors and cancer diagnoses, if he did it for Veronica, he'll do it for me. I want you to sow a seed. Maybe you gave earlier, but I want you to sow a seed in faith to demonstrate that you're going to put this word into action. There are 4 ways you can give. Text to give, Cash App. You can give through the website. You can give even through the P.O. box. But if you want to sow a seed, you heard God speak to your heart, go ahead and activate your faith right now. Show your faith. Demonstrate through faith, through your gift. I'm believing God. This is my faith offering to believe God is going to bring me healing. Things will work out. My. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Oh, as long as you're in my. Hallelujah. I know things will work for me. Well, good day, and this is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and let us be glad in it. So thankful that you've taken time to share with us today, everybody, whether it's Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon, Fire TV, YouTube, Facebook, the various websites, and even those who are watching in Atlanta by WLVO, Channel 21 here in Atlanta. However you're watching, thank you for your viewership. It means the world to us. Won't you call a friend or relative, an associate, a neighbor, and let them know that House of Hope, E. Dewey Smith and Hope TV is on the airways. We're finishing an incredible series on today. This is your first time watching, and you're watching through a platform that will allow you to type in the chat. Just type the number 1 in that virtual chat, and that way members of our Hope Global family would know that this is your first time watching, and they can appropriately welcome you to our community. We're excited today. Last month, we had a series entitled, God, I Need Some Answers. And we received questions. We allow people to send questions in from all over the world. Our team compiled those questions, and amazingly, or not amazingly, whichever side you look at, a lot of those questions were centered around God and sexual health, and God and sexuality, rather. And so this month we've endeavored to bring you different conversations on Wednesdays, Zooms on Thursdays, Mondays, and Tuesdays with professionals and lay people, all geared to help us with this conversation. And today I am excited. I really am. I'm very, very excited to have with us a young lady who is just an amazing young lady. She is a native of Fort Washington, Maryland. Came here to Atlanta to attend CAU, Clark Atlanta. She's a Panther. And so she's my ACU family. She stayed here in Atlanta to attend medical school at Morehouse School of Medicine. And so she's a sharp sister, to say the least. And she was there while she was there. She did a BS in biology at Clark. And when she went to Morehouse, she did a medical doctorate in residency and training. And she's an OBGYN from Morehouse School of Medicine. So we're happy. Not only that, but she's been a member of the House of Hope for the past 14 years. Isn't that something? Doesn't she make me look good as a pastor? How does somebody with no sense like me have somebody with this caliber of education? So we're excited and happy to have Dr. Whitney Langford with us today, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Fort Washington, Maryland. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And when I found out that you were from CAU, I know that you guys are just coming off of homecoming.
Here it
So
is coming up this weekend.
So that's amazing. I mean, so it's coming up, and so we're excited about this, and I'm just very thankful that you're here, and you're working with the Greater Atlanta Women's Healthcare, and tell us about what you do there.
So I practice full spectrum obstetrics and gynecology. We serve women of all ages, races, and groups. We provide not only childbirthing services, but we go all the way up until we go through the menopausal phases and different phases of life.
Wow, obstetrics. I never knew how to pronounce that word, obstetrics.
Yes, it is.
Oh boy, my vocab has been. I'm gonna be bad when I finish with this today with Dr. Langford. So just dealing with women, that's beautiful, and it's very, very powerful. You know, we've had so many conversations this month, and that was a phrase that I had never really heard of until Pastor Cross, who has been spearheading our Life Night conversations and been with the church for quite a while. The phrase sexual health. You know, we hear a lot about mental health, emotional health. You know, I talked about last week, we talk about hair health, skin health.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Health for your teeth. But rarely do we hear it in that, vernacular, sexual health. Can you talk about what is that? What in your opinion, what is your understanding of sexual health?
Right. So all of the things we just discussed are important in their own right. But when we talk about sexual health, we're talking about the emotional, psychological, spiritual, and intellectual aspects that not only include actual intercourse, but the things that involve the acts prior to and afterwards. So we want people to practice good sexual health, but it starts with knowing where to go for the right information and asking the right questions, and learning our own bodies and not feeling any shame or stigma about that.
That's so good. Honestly, when Pastor Cross and the team was talking to me about this conversation,
As a pastor, I immediately kind of balked. I had a sense of hesitancy because a lot of pastors, I know me particularly, are kind of uncomfortable talking about sexual health because, sometimes people have the expectation that we're supposed to do it. But I think you need people who are qualified. And sometimes even in church, people think, well, these are conversations that we shouldn't have in church from a faith perspective. So from your experiences, you're here, and I'm grateful that you're here. Do you think it's important for faith communities to have conversations around sexual health?
Absolutely, because sexual health not only is for singles or those who are dating, even those who are engaged, but also for married couples. And if we want to maintain healthy relationships and marriages, it's absolutely of the utmost importance because this is one of those pillars where people may have problems and may not feel comfortable talking about those things. Even in our single community, we want them to know that this is a safe place for them to come and ask questions or share information and get answers to those things.
That's real good. One of the things that I've been dealing with as a pastor for a few years here, and I've been kind of paying attention to it, particularly AUC, the Research Triangle in North Carolina, and a couple of incidences here at the church when we talk about, they gave me some notes, and I saw something that said STI, and when I saw it, I'm like, okay, that must be a mistake because relative to sexual health, I've always heard of STDs.
Exactly.
So I'm looking now on this STI. Can you elaborate on that?
Right. So different nomenclature, same concept. So STIs are sexually transmitted infections. We try to take away the stigma of the word disease. Instead of sexually transmitted diseases, we use sexually transmitted infections. And we can encompass an array of things other than just what the norms that we know about, and talk about a variety of conditions under that umbrella.
That's good. I mean, that when you think about that, it is less threatening, less intimidating infection versus. So that's some good knowledge that I was not aware of. So those who are watching, no more STD conversations. It's now STIs. Whatever we can get people to talking and to remove the stigma, to get them to go and make sure that they're healthy is very, very important. And one of the things that I noticed, I read some research a few years ago, the Research Triangle in North Carolina and the AUC were amongst the leading populations for HIV diagnoses for students ages 18 through 22. And it was really mind-blowing. And now I've heard recently, and I've had some conversations even with women in our church, that women over 65. And the notes that they gave me, adults over 50 are still at risk. And around 1 in 6 HIV diagnoses were people age 50 and older. Can you talk about that? Have you seen that in your practice? What kind of information would you share with us regarding that?
Right. So the first step is wanting people to understand that your healthcare spans your entire life. There's not an age out type of syndrome.
That's
so
good.
We don't reach a certain point and try skip out on our visits or start spacing them out. We want you to still have your regular checkups and things of that nature. When you're still sexually active, which you can be well into your years, there's absolutely no reason to not be. Wow. Absolutely.
Okay. Wow.
You still need those checkups and you still need those tests and exams. So empowering people to schedule those and keep those on a regular basis is what starts this. We know that our older populations may live in senior facilities and have a lot of access to each other.
Wow.
And at that time, we need you all to still be checked and still have sexual health and sexual lives that are thriving.
Wow.
But be careful.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. So even I never thought about that in senior adult communities. That's a great accessibility.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's really a challenge. And so when you talk about emotional, psychological, intellectual, and the spiritual inclusivity in terms of sexual health, and what kind of factors in your experience can affect sexual health? I mean, Pastor Cross told me about the 5 P's regarding sexual health. So can you elaborate on that for a minute?
Absolutely. So the 5 P's, so we start with the first one, which is partners.
Okay.
So what we want to establish is that all individuals may not have one partner, and that's okay. But we need to be clear about that, and we need to be honest and transparent.
Wow.
So laying out who your partners are, assessing their sexual health and who their partners may be is the first step in being safe, because you know what measures you need to take as a couple, okay, either monogamous or otherwise. The next is practice. So that's the types of sexual intercourse you actually have. There's a lot of stigma against this. We shy away from using words that aren't just vaginal penetration, but there are other things that we want people to feel safe to share. And there are other conditions that will be associated with the types of intercourse that you have. The next will be protection from STIs. So this is like one of my passion areas for talking to the youth about contraception. That may be something that you don't feel comfortable talking with your parents about, especially at a young age, but I want you to feel empowered to do what's right for your body. And let's get you something that you can, one, remember to take and that agrees with your lifestyle. The next P would be like history of infections in yourself or your partner, laying that out in the open playing field before we engage in this type of relationship so that we are clear and we can make informed decisions. And the last one would be pregnancy. And this is a big one. We talk about either fear of getting pregnant, in vitro fertilization. As a 37-year-old woman myself who froze her eggs last November, I understand that full well, but we want individuals to know their options and not feel pressured to make decisions based upon our fertility. So we talk about the types of birth and all of those things under that umbrella of pregnancy.
That you said a whole lot right there. I want to kind of unpack, because this is real conversations. And I think sometimes in the faith community, we preach an idealism and this utopia kind of concept about sexuality, sexual engagement, sexual health. This whole idea, the thought process that every person who gets married is supposed to be a virgin, and everybody ideally is going to be a virgin until their 30s, and they're going to meet the person they're going to be with, and then those two going to live happily ever after. And that's not necessarily true. That's more rare than it is exactly. But I think sometimes our idealism in church and not being honest to teach and preach where people are, the truth is that people in church, from preachers to mothers to deacons, there's sexual activity, and people have had more than one partner. And sometimes young people in college or elsewhere may have multiple partners in their lives now. And that's just the truth of the matter. And so for you to say that, I think is in a faith-based forum, I think is powerful. It may make somebody cringe, but I think we don't want to be honest. Even when you mention contraceptives with our youth, and you being, tapped into that area, and you want to empower young people to be honest about their sexual health and taking care of themselves when they can't speak to parents. Me growing up in church, the whole notion was we don't talk about contraceptives. We just talk about abstinence. And there are some people who feel that if you preach or teach anything or share anything outside of abstinence, that you're really going against the Bible, or you're really not following protocol or holiness or sanctification. What would you say to parents right now who are just trying to beat, abstinence and preach abstinence? And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but they're using that as the sole option. What, in your practice, what kind of conversations do you have with young people about contraceptives or about prevention?
Right. So the first step is talking to parents, because we do have one whole visit that we separate into 2 parts. Okay. So it starts with the parents being honest with themselves. So how did you feel when you were that age and in that position? And what did you need your parent to say to you to make you feel comfortable? So once we start there, a lot of them will be more amenable to the conversation. And we're there to kind of facilitate and make it less uncomfortable. Okay. So if we can get to a point where we could talk about it in a room together, that would be great. But we want to give the teen privacy. Share those things with me that you haven't shared with anybody and haven't shared with your parent nonetheless. So once we have established the reasons why they may want contraception, because it's not always just about pregnancy prevention. It treats other medical conditions as well.
That's good.
So once we have decided what works best for their lifestyle, right? You're a busy college person who may not have time to do something every day. We can give you something that works best and that's effective, because we don't want you to feel like you can't be yourself, like you can't make your own decisions, right? But do that in a safe way, because that's what we always want. We want to promote safety. We want to promote a safe environment for people to talk in as well.
That is so good. I'm glad you said that, because one of the things in the African American community, in my family, let me speak of my own family, and I speak of so many other families. My mother was pregnant at 13. She had 2 kids by the time she was 15. But yet, when it comes to conversations, and she's with the Lord now, and I'm so proud of what my mom accomplished. 3 of us when she was, before she was 21. You know what I mean? But conversations like this were uncomfortable. And when you start looking sometimes in your family lineage, they make it seem like that young people of today are just, when I was growing up, just fasten your britches. Or you being managed. That's what they was. I don't know if they said it in Maryland.
Womanish.
Yeah, you're just being grown and cheeky. But the reality is, wait a minute, Ma. You ain't been in church all your life. You haven't been in church all your life. So seemingly to me, the conversation should be easier based on the reality of what you've experienced. And so when you said that about parents, come on, let's talk about that. And I don't know if it's people are afraid to share their story because they think the kids are going to feel bad about them. I don't know. How do you free parents up? To be honest, have you had any interaction with parents who are not open to these types of conversations?
I have. In just my personal experience, I have a mom who is overly honest. We have a very open relationship. Who went to the doctor with me and sat in the corner.
Woo, Jesus.
Absolutely.
Are you serious?
At the age of 14.
And you were good with that?
Yes. Who my boyfriend could call and talk to. Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
What's up, Mom? You dope.
And to this day, we share in that way.
Wow.
There's nothing that's off limits. And I realize that for some parents, that's uncomfortable because you don't want to feel shame about your past, right? But freeing yourself from that shame first is how you are open to talk to other people.
My goodness.
And your children are your utmost responsibility.
Wow.
So if we're trying to protect anyone, it should be them at all costs. So this is about prevention, and not so much about any shame or stigma that you feel towards what you did, because it is your past, right?
Yes.
It's not your present.
Right.
So once they can come to grips with that, I think we can move past it to have these kinds of conversations. Now, they won't do it every day.
Right.
It might be the one time they have this kind of conversation in the office, but at least we did it today.
That's good. Now, in terms of contraceptives, do young people have to have parental consent or approval in order to receive contraceptives?
Absolutely not.
Really?
No. They do not.
Okay.
So we give them that freedom
Okay.
in the office, and that's why part of the visit is actually private.
Okay.
So we can discuss and let them make their own choice without influence.
Wow.
And we will bring the parent back in to discuss that choice after we have made it. But adolescents have the freedom to make decisions in that regard, and even in regards to pregnancy as well.
So at what age do they have the agency to do that, the freedom where you will allow them to make those decisions?
So we're definitely talking about teenagers.
Okay.
And we start having those talks maybe around like 14. It may be younger for some or older for others.
Yeah.
But around that age group, especially our 16-year-olds, they have agency to make their decisions, and all of our college students, of course.
Yeah, it's funny you said 14. I was talking to a colleague recently, and he was with his daughter, and they were together, I think, traveling. And I think the daughter was like 10 or 11, and her cycle started.
Exactly.
While she was with her dad. And So he was completely oblivious
Cringe.
as to what to say, to help get her through that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you talk about 14, 15 college students, in a real sense, depending on the maturity of that young lady, these conversations are
That's
necessary.
correct timing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we have to remember those things. And, even around the menstrual cycle and empowering parents to do that. Now we live in an age where we have actual parties for that,
Wow.
period parties.
Really?
It's celebrated
Wow.
rather than shamed.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's what we want to promote in our community.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. You just really enlightened me. I feel like, I'm gonna know something here today. We have celebratory party, period parties. But it makes sense because I remember in school and with my nieces, just the emotional, almost it was trauma. It was traumatizing, almost from having to leave school and the effects the toll it takes on the bodies and not feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the emotional trauma adds to the physical
Right.
discomfort of it all.
And imagine being completely unprepared. You had
Wow.
no idea that this would happen one day.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
That's got to be brutal.
Mhm.
And I think because that's what an introduction to womanhood. I mean, from a physical perspective.
Hello.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. I remember, we just came. We're still in infant loss, and I remember when 4 years after I was married, my wife was having some problems, and we went to the doctor, and the doctor told us that because of extreme uterine fibroids, that she would not be able to have children. She had a major surgery, and they removed the fibroids. It was literally 2 buckets filled with fibroids, literally. Some of them, the size of my fist.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when they removed the fibroids, Dr. Firth was his name, Dr. Paul Firth. He told me after she was in recovery that the damage to her uterus was so extensive that it weakened the walls of the uterus, and the damage was so significant that there was no way she would be able to inevitably or eventually carry a child. And the weirdest thing for me is I never wanted a child until that point. We never even talked about really having children. We've been married about 4 years at the time. And when he said that, it was almost like my life
Mhm.
flashed in front of me. It's like, whoa, can't have any children? And it was just difficult. And so we went through the recuperation process with that, and then some of the fibroids grew back, and we had to do some experimental treatment. Lupron, I was paying thousands of dollars a month to shrink them, and then she got pregnant with our oldest, and then a couple of years later we lost a child, and been affected by that. We don't talk a lot about, since we're in this month of October, we don't talk a lot about infant loss and issues of infertility. And even in the church today, I have about 5 wonderful couples, 3 of whom that I married personally and did their actual wedding ceremonies. And they've been married 5, 7, some longer years, 5 to 7 years or longer, who would make the most awesome parents in the world. And yet they have not yet been able to conceive. What do you say from your vantage point, from your experience, how do you kind of service or provide care to persons who are experiencing that?
So we see both spectrums.
Mhm.
So those who actually struggle with fertility issues, but then those who have suffered from loss. So those whose dream of their lifetime has been to have a family, to have children, and to get to a point where you're ready to do so. And it seems as though your body may be going against you. And you've done all the things. You've read all the books. You've taken all the medicines and prepped yourself for this journey, and it's seeming like it's not going to happen. Interestingly enough, I had a patient recently, and we actually had to step aside and we had to pray.
Wow.
Because I was trying to get her to understand that her faith had to be bigger in this moment.
Wow.
And God. Whatever she had been through in the past, even going through a loss, she had to believe that this thing was going to happen before it actually happened.
My goodness.
Because I'm a big, you put out, I use the word vibes just so my patients understand, where I'm coming from.
Right.
But what you put out is what you get back.
Yes. Wow.
So trying to get them in the proper mindset, right? That this may be a journey.
This is a doctor talking, y'all. Y'all hear my doctor up here? Did y'all hear? She got the Holy Ghost up here. I got chill. Proceed, Reverend Dr. Langford.
This may be a journey for you, but just because it's a little more difficult from you doesn't make it any less special. We compare ourselves to other people's journey all the time. Well, they're 35 and I'm 38, and what does that mean? We have so many other avenues for us. And what we don't do is educate women enough about fertility preservation. Maybe your Prince Charming hasn't come.
Yes.
That dream is not realized yet. But how do you make sure that when he comes, that you'll have what you need to proceed? And that's what we talk about egg freezing. That's what we talk about those kinds of things. But dealing with loss can be hard. Exactly. From picking up, and how do you start over? Do I want to try again? Could I deal with a traumatic loss again? And for most of my patients, after some therapy, after some prayer, after sitting in that moment and allowing yourself to grieve, you can make it through that next point. If you believe, you got to believe that if God told you could have it, then you'll get it. I don't know when you're going to get it, but you will.
That is so good, because when you got somebody who's not just medically trained, but who also understands the power of God, the power of faith, and the power of belief. That's the kind of doctor, that's the kind of professional I want to be around. Somebody who knows their craft and who knows the Creator. That's very, very powerful. I did something very interesting, and I hope those families, I want to send this out to the families who I know are going through this. I've been praying with you guys for a while, and some of you going through the process now of fertility treatments and all those types of things. And I just want you to be encouraged. That's why I'm so thankful that you spoke on that. And those who've had, infant loss, I went through it in 2004, and it was just probably one of the most painful experiences. I'm trying to be there for my wife and encourage her. We 6 months into this journey and thinking we're gonna have a child, in a few months, and child doesn't make it, and incredibly painful. And I'm trying to be there for her, but not knowing how I feel myself. It's like, I'm trying to make sure she's good. And I'm like, wait a minute, but this, I'm grieving too. I got a sense of loss. So it was just a very weird time because I had never experienced that. And thinking back, but then a year later, God blessed us with, another child. So you're right. And so when the doctors told us we couldn't have any because of fibroids, which are very, very prevalent in African-American women, I got, Kamari and Kylan, there evidence that power of faith and good doctors, that God can see you through. So you can make it. I did something very interesting. You talked about this in vitro fertilization. A few weeks ago, I was invited to do a dedication prayer for one of our members, Shamia. Shamia and her husband had a child through a surrogate mother. So that was my first time actually doing a dedicatory prayer and baby dedication for a child born through surrogacy. So now I'm dealing with a colleague, a friend, and a relative who are both talking about in vitro fertilization. The church, I've never had a class on that. We never talked about that. Can you remove the stigma with that? Because people ask me, do you have to have two parents? Again, that's idealism. I think people need to be empowered. I think sometimes our theology has been so toxic that it's made young ladies who feel I can't be a mother because my Prince Charming has not come. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So there are different facets. So first being egg freezing. So that's just fertility preservation, in the hopes that if you had gotten to a certain age, when you actually were ready to conceive, that you will be able to use those eggs from a younger age. Then we talk about IVF. So IVF is using your own eggs and using either your partner's sperm or a donor to conceive, and that is placed together and then placed back inside of you for the rest of the gestation or the pregnancy. Different people have different lifestyles. They have different life trajectories. And for some, there is no partner available at the time, and they do use donors. And these donors are screened, and it's actually a very grueling and emotionally taxing process that these women have to go through.
Wow.
And when we talk about surrogacy, which is the same process, but then implanting the egg into a gestational carrier, which is a huge sacrifice, but they carry your child for you so that your dream can come to reality. And
Wow.
this is 100% DNA your child.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
We're not taking away that from them.
Wow.
There are conditions where you just can't carry, and that should not deem you not to be a mother.
Wow. Yeah, I just, more and more I want to share with people, and I believe 65-70% of the children in the African American community are raised by African American women anyway, in single parent homes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's toxic, and I think it takes the agency away from a mother to say you can't do it because you don't have a male or in the house or Prince Charming. That's just my personal belief, and I don't believe the Bible or faith would depreciate that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So I think it's very, 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 very important. Cesarean birth. You talk about, your experience with that, benefits of it, the necessity of it, pros and cons.
Yes. What we know is that the birthing process is definitely individualized. What we have tried over the time is to lower the cesarean birth rate. We don't want women or patients to undergo cesarean births unnecessarily. But when they are medically necessary, we absolutely want to make sure that that's available to them. It does involve a major abdominal procedure. But it is for the safe delivery of your child and also to keep women safe during the process as well. It's not only just, for baby, but for mom's health as well. At times, women are told because you've had one cesarean birth that you subsequently have to have another. That is absolutely not true. And that is something that we fight against every day, to give people what we call a trial of labor or TOLAC. Just because you had to have it doing that, understand it is a very different birth, a different time, and we will attempt to do a vaginal delivery. And should you have to do a C-section, that does not take away any of your power. You still are a mama. You still did the work to get your baby here and sacrificed during a major surgery to do so. So we want women to understand what the circumstances are where a C-section is necessary by, going through birth plans and going through scenarios prior to birth. But we also want women to understand that just because it happened then, it does not have to happen again.
That's awesome. That's great. A couple more things, a couple more questions that we that really came in that were very, very interesting. I see a lot of scenarios as a pastor, and over the past 3 years, I've had to funeralize, over the past 4 years, 3 of my very close men in the church. Mm-hmm. Three of whom all passed away because of physical conditions that required them to take something, blood pressure medicine. But blood pressure medications would prevent them from being able to be themselves in the same sexual manner. Mm-hmm. So some of them, were able to get other medicines to help them in that aspect, but it had an adverse effect on their hearts, and they all died. Now, a lot of men who run away from heart pressure medicines because we've basically built our maleness, our masculinity on sexual performance. Mm-hmm. What do you say to those who are, who are dealing with issues of sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, a lack of performance because of medications?
So one, you are not alone. So a lot of times we think we're on an island and we retreat into our shells and we don't want to share it with our friends because we don't want anybody to think anything about it. But most of the time our friends are going through the same thing violently.
Wow.
So it's definitely something that you want to talk about. And you also want to understand that there is no point in your relationship that you should give up on pleasure.
Wow.
That you should accept your fate and that this just is what it is, because that's not true. We want you to have a healthy sexual relationship for as long as you want to. So the first steps will be those medical conditions that are chronic, that require treatment and follow-up, that you stay on top of that you take those medicines, you go to those follow-up visits with your provider and do the things to get those in check. Because what we do know is that once they aren't in check, that will affect other things. So we're talking about hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol. All of those things will affect your vasculature or your blood supply, which in turn will affect those pleasure centers and the actual act. So if we can get in control of those things and our weight is a big thing, and we all struggle with that. We can better heal those conditions. Some people, yes, they need other medications or desire other medications, and there's nothing wrong with that. But make sure that you're cleared to safely take those medications before you trial those on your own. Because what we do know is that they have very severe side effects for some people, and we don't want you to end up in a situation that was avoidable or unnecessary.
That's good. I was talking to one of my relatives a couple months ago, and we were laughing about, making fun of guys that get older and some of the issues that we have, not being able to perform the way we used to. And she applied with some information. She said, well, similarly, as women get older, that there are things that can affect their performance, different things, pain, issues that women have even in terms as they get older. What do you say to the women who are getting older and going through menopause or other things that affect their bodies that's preventing them from having pleasure as well?
So similar, but in a different vein. So what we know is that the average age of menopause is about 51 and a half in the United States for women. And those symptoms can start as early as 5 years before and persist for 5 years after. Definitely treatable, but we understand that it's a lack of hormone or hormone imbalance. And the same thing with men. It could be a testosterone imbalance that's causing it. Being evaluated with your physician to see exactly where you stand is the first step. The next steps are trying non-hormonal methods, because there are several. A lot of people don't feel as comfortable taking a lot of medications on top of the medications they were already taking.
Gotcha.
So starting with something non-hormonal or lifestyle modifications and changes, things that you can buy over the counter and practices that you can, put into play. Couples sex therapy is a very viable option, and a lot of people are not aware of it.
Wow.
It's something that you can do to increase your overall intimacy, because it's not just about intercourse, but it is about intimacy, and that's something that you can maintain for your lifetime. So we're going to recommend all of those things to you and come up with a plan that works best for your relationship, because it could be an issue with you or an issue with your partner, but we want to make sure that both of you are, again, still experiencing pleasure.
It's amazing that these types of conversations, you made it, more amenable for me, and because we don't talk about couple sex therapy, and how many men, we don't like to go in the doctor's period for anything. Some of you like me, you hate the dentist, right? So when we talk about these types of issues, that I think so many men are suffering in silence because we refuse to, it feels like a loss of masculinity, a loss of manhood, not realizing that you don't have to. You said earlier, I think it was so powerful, that there's no reason why you can't have pleasure and sexual activity that goes into the years. I think I don't know how you worded it, but they were so powerful. I've got a question here online that I want to ask to you. We had questions submitted, and this is the one that the team chose for me to ask you. Okay. It says, when you've been married for 35 years with erectile dysfunction for years, Won't talk about the bedroom. The bedroom has been dead for nearly a decade. We love Jesus and are in servant leadership roles at the church. Many times thought about giving up, but everything else is good in marriage. Been in a relationship 43 years. I'm 8 years his junior, but don't know how to fulfill this area. I do think about at times throwing the towel, but I got so much invested. Whew.
That's heavy.
My goodness.
So first, I want to empower you to have an uncomfortable conversation with your life partner. This is something that is obviously heavy on your heart. And if you feel comfortable talking to anybody, it should be your partner. We're not going to worry about being embarrassed or shamed. This is something that could benefit the both of you. You know, we have to get to the bottom of it. Is it a psychological issue? Is it a health issue? Physical health? What is the root cause of what's going on? Is there an emotional disconnect between the two of you? What is actually causing your partner not to be able to perform? Once we get to the root of that, we can attack those areas and try to fix those. But more importantly for yourself, I want you to understand that understanding your own body, your own pleasure, your own way of working is important. We don't want to put pressure on our partners, you know, but we do want to explain where we are in those areas where we see improvement. And it actually might bring you closer. Practicing different kinds of intimacy that don't involve intercourse, that's how you build sustainable relationships, because there may be one day where it's absolutely impossible due to injury or due to health.
Wow.
And what we want to do is still be able to feel fulfilled, feel pleasure, be intimate with our partners, and still feel satisfied in the marriage. So the first step, like I said, will be to talk about it. Feel no shame about it in any of those regards. And if therapy is the right way, then we get you hooked up with a sexual therapist so that we can address those concerns. But never, ever, ever give up hope.
Wow.
I heard her say that. We're not giving up hope.
That's so powerful. Listen, this has been powerful. Listen, a survey of adults ages 57 through 85 in the U.S. found that the majority of older adults were involved in intimate relationships and considered sexuality to be an important part of life. So listen, so even as you mature and as life turns, you know, you may not be who you were at 27 or 37, but love and intimacy and respect and mutual pleasure can be your portion in your life. Is there anything that you like to say, leave us with? Any parting words about anything that we discussed or things that we did not discuss? Because you've been so incredibly helpful, so thoughtful, and you made this conversation easy, because this, you know, as a pastor, I'm not used to having these types of conversations. And I just appreciate you with your expertise, sharing it to help us who had questions, things that you've shared. I don't have to share them. I can just give this resource to people who may be needing some advice or spiritual counseling regarding to this. So any closing words or words of encouragement that you want to share with the listeners?
Well, I want to thank you again for allowing me to come here today. But the most important thing, and I want to bring this home, is that we maintain our overall health and we schedule those appointments and we do those follow-ups. I know certain appointments aren't fun. I'm a physician myself and I still don't want to do some, but I understand the importance and seeing about yourself, because you're going to be the first person that knows that something's off, that something's wrong, that something just doesn't feel right. And you want to lean into that. You want to follow up on any concerns you have for yourself, because if you're not 100 for yourself, you can't be 100 for your family and your friends and your loved ones.
That's so awesome. Listen, how can people contact you? Can they make an appointment with you?
Absolutely.
So tell people how they contact you, and we'll put on the bottom of the screen as well.
So you all can reach out to our office at Greater Atlanta Women's Healthcare and schedule an appointment, at either annual visits or even your OBGYN care in general. I have 3 amazing partners at our office. We're all African-American women, and we would love to see you. And you can follow me on social media, I guess.
Sure.
At Witness MD, Witness WHIT-ness MD, a play on my name. And if you have any other concerns, you can reach out to me through my email, which they'll put up on the screen as well.
Yeah. So this is great information. This has been powerful. And I want, those who have a minority-owned business, 4 beautiful African-American women working in this practice, you got to listen. If you're an ATL, you need somebody who loves the Lord and who knows their craft. Hey, check out Dr. Langford. I think it'll be a blessing to you. Fam, one of the things that was so amazing that Dr. Langford shared with us that was very, very powerful was her sharing with and caring for one of her patients who was going through a trying time. She went from providing medical care to really ministry. Sometimes it's connected. And talking with her about the power of believing and starting over and having faith. And in a real sense, as you're watching, I want you to know the same faith that she shared with her patient, is the same faith that you need. And you can have faith with God. You can have faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and believe that all things are possible, whether it's in vitro fertilization, whether it's getting over infant loss, whatever it may be. I want you to know that with God, all things are possible. And you can have a relationship with the Lord Jesus, who says, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. And you can come unto me and find rest for your souls. And so if that's you and you don't have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, I want you to get your phones right now. You can text the word salvation. It's on the bottom of the screen to the number 678-201-1351. Text that right now. And to learn more about having a connection with the Lord Jesus Christ, how you too can believe and start over if life has been difficult. Or secondly, maybe you just want to connect with our ministry. And just like there's a team of doctors that Dr. Langford works with to provide medical care, they're all OBGYNs. Here in ministry, there's a team of people that are dedicated and who are committed to helping you to grow spiritually, to let you know that life with God is better in every way, every day. Whether you're in Atlanta or Alaska, Decatur or Dubai, if you're in Stone Mountain or Sudan, you can connect with this ministry right now. Just text the word connect to 678-201-1351. And lastly, if you just want somebody to pray with you, Dr. Langford talked about prayer several times during our session, and it just blessed my heart to have a physician who prays. If the physician is praying, then you too can pray. And if you want somebody to pray with you and to intercede for you, because we can come bold before his throne to obtain mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. If you want somebody to pray with you, just text the word prayer to 678-201-1351. And our prayer team is going to reach out to you to help pray you through whatever situations you may be standing in need of right now. And then last but not least, if you want to give, there are several ways you can give. You've been blessed. You want to close this month of Bible studies out strong. You can give. There's several ways you can give. There's a QR code on the screen. You can text that will give you all the methods of giving. You can give today by text to give. You can give through Cash App. You can give through Zelle. You can give through the website. Or if you desire, you can send it to the P.O. Box. Our P.O. Box is P.O. Box 361-499, Decatur, Georgia 30036. Again, P.O. Box 361-499, Decatur, Georgia 30036. Well, family, again, Dr. Langford, thank you so much. We're gonna try to put her on the agenda for at least 3 times or 4 times in 2024. We're gonna get a quart out. She's been on almost 15 years. We're gonna get some more work out of her next year in 2024. And we gotta let you go now, but I want you to know that life with God is better in every way, every day. And if you will be good to God, God will be good to you. Till next time, keep believing, keep the faith. It'll get better. Be encouraged. Peace.
Good morning, Corey.
Good morning, Crystal.
Greetings, Hope family.
Greetings.
Greetings. For the entire month of October, we will recognize the month as More Than Pink Month. We are bringing awareness to cancer, lupus, pregnancy and infancy loss, and domestic violence. So wear your pink and green, your pink and purple all month long.
Is that what you be doing? Pink and purple. You see how she tried to sneak that in there? Something about some pink and green. You tried
Sorry.
it. Oh, she tried it. So our Life Night discussions will continue Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. You're getting out of control. Join us all 3 days as we continue the conversations from the Wednesday night Bible studies. To receive the Zoom links, all you have to do is visit the church website and social media platforms. And this is a reminder, because we already had the baby dedication class.
Right.
But some of those of you who have registered to have your baby or child dedicated, you should have already taken that class. But the baby dedication is scheduled for Sunday, October 29th, which is next Sunday, as a part of our Sunday worship experience. If you need more information about anything, and you haven't registered, you should have registered. But text the word baby to 678-201-1351, or go to the church website, or call the church office, which would probably be the best option at this point. 404-243-9336.
Let me see what else you got.
Oh, you just okay? Because you in your pink and green element. The Red Cross Blood Drive experience is going to be held on Friday, October 27th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. All blood drives, believe it or not, have had low turnout since the pandemic, and we got to change that. So we want you all to register for this blood drive experience, which will include a lot more than just a blood drive. Hear me now, Crystal.
Okay.
It's going to have interactive demonstrations and workshops on health, finances, and mental health with Glow Up Garden and Impact for Community Change. There'll be live CPR demonstrations, breast cancer detection demos, workout sessions, and then beauty and health with healthy hair. I'm not sure what that is, but healthy hair. And then there's also the Build a Bag financial experience.
Okay.
So it's a lot. So you got to come out to this blood drive.
Very good. Now, join Hope Youth Now for the return of our annual Fall Festival on Friday, October 27th from 6 o'clock p.m. to 9 p.m. For this in-person activity, we will gather outside as a family for fellowship, fun, and loads of treats for the babies. Go to Hope Youth Now on all our social media platforms for more information.
And I know that there are a lot of you who are members of the House of Hope who are looking for an opportunity to serve this great church. And if that's the case, we want you to come to the Ministry Expo after the in-person worship service. That's next Sunday, October 29th, in the atrium. There, you're going to have an opportunity to meet ministry representatives and birth month leaders, and you're going to learn about the various ministries of our church to assist you in deciding to join and become actively involved in the ministry. I throw that up, but y'all know what I meant.
Online church family, if you need prayer, text your prayer request to 678-201-1351.
I'm just saying it's all the same number, but you can.
It is. And
if you want to become a member
of the House of Hope Atlanta, same number, 678-201. I am.
But got a text. Connect.
Text connect.
Oh, she mad.
To 678-201-1351. Are you in need of salvation? You'd like to be saved? Same number, 678-201-1351.
Yes, and if you are experiencing bereavement, you're sick, are experiencing a loss or a crisis, we want you to text the word CARE to 678-201-1351.
Now, please, please, please help us replenish our food pantry with non-perishable food items, such as canned goods, breakfast foods, canned fruits, and vegetables. Feel free to bring your non-perishable goods and put them in the bins that are in the atrium and after the in-person worship on Sundays. Just drop them off right there.
And we want you to hang out with us as we embrace healing and renewal through Jesus Christ. Meetings are held every Tuesday at 7 p.m. via Zoom application. Please call us at 404-243-9336 to sign up today.
Absolutely. Now, our Hope Global team is in need of ministry volunteers who enjoy sharing Christ and connecting with people in a virtual worship space. To sign up, email our Hope Global pastor, Jay Carner, at gtrbc.org, or you can call the church's office for more information.
That's it. And that's our time for today, Crystal.
Yay.
That's all we got today.
Awesome.
What should we tell them?
What should we tell them?
I don't. Uh-oh.
Life with God is better in every day. Is better every day in every way. Be blessed. Did I mess that up?
What?
Did I mess that up?
Life with God is better in every way,
every day. Be blessed.
And she been doing this for I don't know how long.
I'm just saying, you've been working my nerves these weeks.
Ever since she said something about this pink and green, which was
That
supposed to be
really-
pink and purple month for the, awareness
I
of
usually
everything.
don't. I know, but when I'm saying pink and something, it's usually pink and green and not
And then
pink
you're
and
going to
purple.
hold up your little bracelet.
Because that's what I mean. People understand that's where it came from. I didn't just pull it out the air.
So she done went from Wonder Woman in 1 week, and now she, AKA woman, I guess, or something.
Whatever.
Well, we going to church.
Bye, y'all.
Because they're going to say we talking too much again. I don't care.